Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick performance video on CSGO performance and the new GTX Pascal cards like the 1060, 1070, 1080, anything with GPU Boost 3.0, which is one of the new features that NVIDIA added with their graphics cards. And I'll touch on pretty much anything that could be affecting your performance because I'm running a GTX 1060 and I've done a video like where I'm getting over 300 FPS, like closer to 350 to as high as 500 depending on the map, and I've had people comment saying that I'm getting better performance than people with GTX 1080s and a very similar i7 CPU. So there's only a few things I can think of that would affect performance that much, and the main one would be the built-in FPS cap of the game, which is set at 300. So when someone says this guy with a 1080 is only getting 200 to 300, well, the FPS cap's the first thing I can think of. So you can see here that I've set the FPS cap back at 300 with my GTX 1060, and I'm getting around 280 FPS. Even when I go and look at a wall, it goes as high as 290. But if I go into this corridor, you can see in here it's 285, 270. So the problem there is that the newer cards run this feature called GPU Boost, which alters the card's clock speed, and I'm not sure exactly the intricate details, but it basically dynamically loads the card based on the load of the game, like the load the game's demanding. So if you've got an artificial FPS cap in the game, like in CSGO it's on 300, or if you've got VSync limiting your FPS to 60 even, your graphics card is naturally gonna perform lower based upon that load. So it'll sit on like 290 because, and you can see the GPU's usage is at 84% because GPU Boost thinks that that's all the game needs because it's, you know, it's FPS cap. So if I unlock that FPS cap, so FPS, I'll show you how to open the console actually. So if you don't know how to use console, you go to game settings, and it's just here, enable developer console, and the button is just below the escape key. So turn that on, and then open your console, type FPS_max 0. So by default it's 300, so you can put it back if you want. But 0 basically removes the cap and tells the graphics card that the game wants as much performance as possible, and GPU Boost will naturally allow higher utilization in the game. So there we go, I just disabled the FPS cap, and you should see the FPS creep a fair bit higher than 300, especially in corridor areas. Although I'd need some heavy combat for it to spike higher, but yeah, you can see 400. While before it was sitting like 290 to 279. So now it's fairly more stable above 300 with the FPS cap removed. And this is on max settings too. Like I've got everything on high, MSAA, anisotropic, FXAA, everything's maxed. And I've only got it in windowed mode because that allows me to record this with OBS. So audio's on HRTF. You can turn this to stereo, like this is just like a built-in stereo type of surround sound that gives you spatial awareness, but it can hurt your performance depending on what CPU you're running. But I keep it on that because I'm running an i7. So as you can see, I'm getting a fairly consistent 300 plus now that I've removed the FPS cap, and it takes a little bit for the GPU Boost to adjust properly. Like you could see that it was actually sitting closer to 319 when I first disabled the cap, and now it's starting to steadily creep up to a fair bit higher. Let's see if I can get the FPS to drop. It's pretty stable. But yeah, so that's the main thing. It's the FPS cap that's ruining people's performance running high-end cards because of GPU Boost. Oh, there's liquid coming over here. And the other factors are your memory configuration. So if you're running just just say you're running Haswell even. Say you're running stock speed, or so that's stock speed, Haswell there, 2-channel. It's just over 20,000 Mbps read bandwidth. So that's your memory bandwidth for the rest of the system. If you're running Skylake, it's this bright red bar here. This is like an article Corsair did in 2015, which is only becoming relevant now. But stock Skylake speed is 2133, and it's just around the 30,000 MB mark, Mbps, and that pretty close on write as well. But basically, you want to look at something like this for a rough idea on why people are having performance issues running GTX 1080s, 7700K CPUs, and then even with the FPS unlock, sometimes they'll be having half the FPS that I'm getting with my weaker card. And the explanation is also in here. It's that if you're running a single stick, so with 2 sticks it's 30,000 Mbps, but if you're running a single stick for single channel, basically your memory bandwidth will be halved. So it'll be closer to like somewhere down here. You'll be getting like 15,000 Mbps, which is even lower than 1600 megahertz Haswell. Or if you're running Haswell, or you're running say an i7 4790K, and you're running the stock speed, but it's only a single 8 gig stick, you'll be getting closer to like 10,000, 11,000 Mbps per second. So that's the other problem, is that people are running high-end hardware, while on older games and older hardware it didn't really matter as much. Like 10,000 Mbps with a single stick might have been plenty for like Warcraft 3 Dota, or those type of games, or CS 1.6. But with the newer hardware that's capable of pushing higher frames, you need higher bandwidth. And so running single channel will effectively have your bandwidth to whatever speed, whatever dual channel speed you would have been getting will be halved. So this chart, I just Googled Corsair DDR4 memory bandwidth, and it's the top result. So you can take a look there and estimate how much memory bandwidth you should be getting. And if you're running a single stick, you can estimate how much of a performance gain in Mbps you'll get by adding a second stick in dual channel. And that can fix a lot of performance problems, like especially in games like Battlefield 1. I've had people message me saying they're getting half the FPS that benchmarks are showing. And I've asked, like, okay, how many RAM sticks are you running? And they'll say 1 stick. And they just don't realize that they're missing out on dual channel performance, which basically allows both sticks of RAM to communicate with the rest of the system at the same time, while with a single stick it's just 1 stick. So obviously a GTX 1080 and a 6700K trying to squeeze all the memory bandwidth, like all their processing power, into that 1 RAM stick with 10,000 or 15,000 Mbps isn't going to be enough to hit higher frame rates in the newer games. So that's the hardware side. And the other issue is Windows 10's built-in services and features. So I think Steam actually asked, when you first run CSGO, it tells you, it warns you that this Xbox DVR is enabled, and it'll like try to disable it for you. But in case it didn't work, I'm not 100% sure because I'd already disabled mine manually. But you can just Google Windows Game DVR disable Steam, and it's the top result on the Steam website. It'll tell you how to disable the built-in Xbox game recording stuff that can also hurt your performance, especially if you're running a weaker i5 or i3 CPU. You want as many CPU cycles you can get to get maximum performance. So this guide will basically tell you how to do it through the Xbox app or through the registry. I recommend through the registry because then you can actually uninstall the Xbox app if you don't use it. And you know, I can't stand any of the Windows Metro type of applications anyway, so I uninstalled all of them. But this is the registry guide, and then in services, like, don't mess with any of these if you don't know what they do, but you can go down to Xbox, and if you're not using the features, you can right click properties and disable them like that. Or if they're running, you'd right click and stop them first and disable these 3 down here, these Xbox services, because even if you uninstall the Xbox app, the services still keep running in the background. So I disabled them. And then there's another program called CCleaner, which you can just Google to install it. and it's got an uninstall feature that will let you uninstall most of the Windows Metro style Windows 10 apps that are in that weird Metro menu that pop up. And I pretty much removed all the crap that I didn't want. So yeah, that's the other fix that I've done, and I think I've touched on the key points here. One more thing, I guess, is in the NVIDIA control panel, you also want to make sure, and in Crimson drivers, I think it's also called power saving or power optimization. I don't know what the mode's called, but in your NVIDIA drivers, you can do this on a per game basis or on global settings, which will do it for all your games. Just scroll down and turn power management mode to maximum performance. Prefer max performance. So by default, it's on optimal power, which it's not the same as GPU boost. So like you can have it on maximum performance, and if you've got an FPS cap, GPU boost will still alter your card's utilization and clock speed and everything to match what FPS cap you've set. So you need to set maximum performance in here and also unlock the FPS to get the best performance. And if you've got VSync enabled, it'll do the same thing. It'll cause lower than the normal FPS to what your card's capable of. So if I go to video and turn wait for vertical sync on, oh wait a second, my monitor is 144 Hertz, so it's not really gonna cause much of a problem for me. But if you've got VSync on and you're getting and you're running a 60 Hertz monitor, I'm pretty sure it'll also affect your performance. But you can see here that now that the GPU boost has had time to adjust, it's actually sitting higher for utilization than before, and I haven't changed anything. Like, I just put vertical sync back. Yeah, especially with other players on the screen, bots, it's hitting higher levels of utilization. So yeah, hopefully this helps a bunch of people, and if you like the video, hit like and subscribe if you like these kind of tutorial videos, and hopefully I can get better at doing this in the future. Like, I'm not much of a talker, but I like to try to help people if they're having problems with their PC. Okay, thanks guys, see ya.